guys are looking at the night sky about an hour-ish after sunset as it is tonight. And you guys, as you can see, are facing the southern portion of the sky. If you look all the way to your left, you'll be able to see the eastern portion of the sky. If you look to the right, you'll be able to see the western portion of the sky. If you strain your neck a little bit, you'll see that behind you is the northern portion of the sky. Now, if you look, put your attention to the southeastern portion of the sky, you might be able to see a couple of bright objects that might jump out, specifically this object and this object. Now, those two are Jupiter and Saturn, the two biggest planets in our solar system, with Jupiter being the first biggest and Saturn being the second biggest. Now, besides Earth and Mars, these two planets are arguably the most popular planets in our solar system. Jupiter is characterized by these huge rings that go around it, and if you get lucky, you can see like the storm peeking around the edge right there. The storm is, in fact, actually 3 times bigger than Earth itself. And Saturn, which is characterized by its huge rings. Every Jovian planet, which are planets that are made up by gas, like Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, they all have rings as well, but Saturn's easily is the most pronounced in the entire solar system. And a little fun fact about Saturn is that if you had a bathtub big enough and you dropped Saturn right into it, it would actually float, which is why a bunch of people like to call Mars the marshmallow, or Saturn the marshmallow planet. Now, the rest of what you'll be looking at is outside of our solar system. And if you strain your neck a little bit, you might be able to see behind you a very popular group of stars. I'm not going to point it out exactly yet, just to give you guys a chance to see it for yourself. Just slowly start circling in on it. If anyone sees it, feel free to call it out. Right here. Big Dipper? I heard someone say it. It's right there. It's these 7 stars. It's the Big Dipper. This star, no, not that one. They're all part of the Big Dipper. Make it a little easier for you guys to see, right there. Now, the Big Dipper is a very popular group of stars in the night sky for many different reasons. The first reason is because it's made up of the brighter stars in the night sky. It's up all year round. It's very popular. A lot of stories about it. Everyone knows about the Big Dipper. Now, another reason why it's very popular is it's actually used to find other groups of stars in the night sky. Now, once you find this Big Dipper, if you draw an imaginary line in between these 2 stars on its side pot right here, and you follow it all the way up, you'll be able to see this star right here. Now, that's a very bright star, and it's another very popular star. It is known as Polaris, otherwise known as the North Star. And the North Star is actually the tip of the handle of the Little Dipper. So if you follow this star, and you go to that star, that one, that one, that one, and that one, you'd have found the Little Dipper. Now, to make it a little bit easier for you to visualize, I like to imagine the Little Dipper just pouring soup or water into the big pan. But there's actually another reason why the Big Dipper is very popular, and it is actually part of a bigger group of stars known as a constellation. And the constellation that the Big Dipper is a part of is called Ursa Major, which is Latin for the Great Bear. And a lot of people don't know this, but this is the full Ursa Major constellation. You see it has legs reaching down, a long tail, the body, the head. That is the Great Bear. Now, just like the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper is also part of a bigger group of stars known as a constellation. And that constellation is Ursa Minor. There are unfortunately no extra stars in the Little Dipper, but that is Ursa Minor, or the Little Bear, right here. Now, if you live in Maine your entire life, you know that bears don't have long tails like this, and you would be correct. Now, instead of just coming up with a different animal to make these constellations, the Greek decided to make a story as to why their tails might be so long, which gives you an idea of what constellations exactly are. They are technically regions in our night sky, but what characterize them are the stories that these cultures made up thousands of years ago about all of them. Now, the Greeks came up with a story to explain why their tails are so long, and it goes something like this. Now, the mama bear and her baby were on Earth thousands and thousands of years ago, and they somehow stumbled upon a god. And they somehow also managed to anger the god. How they did it, I have no idea, but they somehow managed to do it. So the god decided to teach them a lesson, because angering God isn't something you want to do. So he picked up the bears by their tails, spun them around above his head until their tails were stretched out, and threw them up into the night sky gently, and until they became constellations, which is where they are to this day, according to the Greeks, which makes sense to me. Now, if you focus your attention, hopefully it's a little easier for you to see in the southern portion of the sky, you'll be able to see another very popular group of stars. This group of stars are 3 specific stars made up of the brightest stars of 3 different constellations, which might be a little bit confusing at first, but it's 3 different constellations where their brightest star make up a pattern in the night sky. It might be hard to spot at first, but slowly start circling around it. Hint, it's a 3-sided shape right here. Triangle made up of this star, and this star. That is called the summer triangle. Now, the summer triangle is a very easy group of stars to spot in the summer sky. And as you can see here, it's still up in the fall sky for a good part of fall as well. But these are easily the brightest stars in the night sky. You can see, depending on the year, so around summer-ish is when these stars will be at their brightest. And this star right here is Altair, and it is the brightest star in the constellation Aquila, the eagle, which is right here. I'll draw it in for you. Aquila, the eagle. Now, this is Vega, which is the brightest star in the constellation Lyra. And this is Deneb, which is the brightest star in the constellation Cygnus the Swan. Now, 2 of these constellations I think are pretty easy. Aquila the eagle kind of looks like a stingray, but apparently the Greeks thought it was an eagle, so we'll give them that. Apparently an eagle with some dude in his mouth. Cygnus the Swan, right up here, is personally the easiest one in the summer triangle, I think. Which is, you can imagine it as a swan flying through Lyra and Aquila, right downwards like that. Lyra is the hardest. A lot of cultures see Lyra as different things. Some people saw it as a bird. The Greeks saw it as a harp, like the instrument, stringed instrument. So this program decided to get the best of both worlds and put them together. So it's a bird playing the harp. But it's up to you to decide what they are. And that is the summer triangle. Now, my favorite portion of the night sky is thankfully up at this time of the year. And it is right here. Now, I'm not going to show you exactly what it is yet. It's 2 constellations, technically. The first constellation is Andromeda, which is the star of the show right here. And it is Andromeda, the princess. And Andromeda is a special constellation for 2 specific reasons. The first reason is because it is actually attached to another constellation via this star right here. Now, it's not common that you find constellations attached to other constellations with a star, but Andromeda is a special case, and it is a special case with the constellation Pegasus, the winged horse. Now, a lot of people get Pegasus confused because they think this whole constellation is Pegasus, which I wouldn't blame them. It's the head of the horse right here, the front hooves, the back hooves, the body. But what Pegasus really is the winged horse emerging from an ocean. So it's just the top half of Pegasus right here. That is the constellation Pegasus. And then Andromeda managed to get herself chained up to the back of Pegasus right here. So that's the story behind it. Andromeda is the princess and daughter of Cassiopeia, the queen, which is somewhere in the night sky. And Cassiopeia was boasting about Andromeda's beauty, so to punish Cassiopeia, the gods decided to tie Andromeda up to Pegasus. But we aren't here to talk about Pegasus. Andromeda is the more important constellation for one other very specific reason, and that is that right there. Now, everything you are looking at in the night sky, including this very long band, is inside of our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. That long band is actually an arm of the galaxy, because it is a spiral galaxy. If you imagine the center of the galaxy and a bunch of arms coming out like that, like a starfish kind of, that is one of the arms of our galaxy. Everything is a star, is a nebula, a planet, everything is inside of our galaxy, and except for that little dot right there. And that's what makes it so special. Does anybody have any guesses as to what that little dot is? It is a galaxy. And more specifically, it is the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, the Andromeda Galaxy is a significantly larger spiral galaxy compared to the Milky Way galaxy, and it is approximately 2.5 million light years away, and for reference, it's about 700 trillion football fields away from us, which is a lot. And yeah, so I didn't change the size of the galaxy at all in the program. I simply just brightened it up for you, which shows that that's actually how big Andromeda is in our night sky. Now, it's kind of hard to visualize this for you because the moon isn't up right now and I don't see it. But the moon is roughly a third of this size in our program, which means that Andromeda actually takes up a little bit under 3 times the space in the sky as our moon. But it's very hard to see because it's so far away and it's so dim. But that just shows you how big the galaxy really is, because it's 2.5 million light years away and it's that big in our night sky, which is very interesting. So now I will scale it up a little bit. That's what the galaxy looks like. It's very beautiful, but Andromeda is special because it is the only galaxy in the night sky you can see with your naked eye, which means no help from binoculars or telescope. If you had a telescope, you'd be able to see thousands of other galaxies, hundreds of thousands of other galaxies in our night sky. But Andromeda is the only one you can see with your naked eye, which makes it very special because it is the farthest thing you can physically see with your naked eye in our night sky. Which is a very interesting thing to bring up if you're ever stargazing with any friends or family. But if you really want to lighten the mood, you can tell them that Andromeda and Milky Way are currently on a collision course with each other. So in the probably know billions of years they're going to collide, well, not collide, they're going to merge together. It's called galactic cannibalism. It is observed everywhere in the universe. It's very common between galaxies. But they will merge into one bigger galaxy. Now, scientists, for some reason, already came up with a name for it. They are going to call it Milkdromeda, which we have billions of years to come up with a better name, so I'm not worried about it. But that is the Andromeda Galaxy. It's the farthest thing you can see with your naked eye. Now, there are obviously other very cool things you can see with your eyes, such as this little guy right here. Now, at first glance, that might look like an even smaller version of the Big Dipper. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller. But it is, in fact, Perseus, otherwise known as the Seven Sisters. And it is a star cluster. With your naked eye, you see about 7 stars right here. But even with a pair of binoculars or a small telescope, you'd be able to see upwards of thousands of other stars in the star cluster, which is very interesting. And that just goes to show the difference that between a pair of binoculars or small telescopes can make when observing the sky. Now, I do have good news. This coming April in 2024, there will be a total solar eclipse in the state of Maine. It's going to be the first one in Maine since 1960s, around there, a long time ago, and there won't be another one for a very long time. So I highly recommend getting the chance to observe it. It's going to be seen it's going to be 100% in Jackman, Maine, like northern Maine, closer to the border with Canada. Down here in Bangor, you will not see 100% of the sun covered by the moon. You only see roughly 80%, I believe. But my boss stressed it a lot that even the difference of just 20% makes a huge, huge difference. To observe the solar eclipse safely, you still need to have a pair of solar eclipse glasses. Or if you own a telescope, you might own a solar filter, which you can look at it through. But solar eclipse glasses are great because they block out 99% of the sun's light, which means if you put them on in a room like this, or a room anywhere not looking at the sun, all you would see is darkness until you looked at the sun where you'd see a little orange dot in the glasses. And that is the 1% of the light coming from the sun. And that's how you would safely observe the solar eclipse. And we do sell solar eclipse glasses at the planetarium here in our gift shop, which will be open after the show for $2 a pair. which we highly recommend getting them because they do sell out fast, because we do have companies and schools buying hundreds of them at a time from us. So if you want to see the solar eclipse safely, I highly recommend getting yourself a pair of glasses. And if you want to see it even better, try getting up to Jackman, Maine next April, because the planetarium will be going there. We'll be sending a bunch of staff with telescopes and cameras. So if you want to get a picture and see the total solar eclipse, we highly recommend finding us up there and observing it with us. So that does conclude the show for this evening. I'll bring up the lights for you guys so you can see where you're going. I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. If you guys have any questions about space or astronomy or anything, feel free to ask them on your way out. I'd be happy to answer them for you.